The FBI is blocking access to the Minnesota case, the ICE shooting case.
We have a breaking development on the investigation into the ICE shooting in Minneapolis. The FBI is now taking sole control of this investigation, banning the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension from having any access to the case materials, to scene evidence or interviews. Let's bring in MS Now's David Rode for more on this. David, what do we know about this decision, why it was made?
The statement, according to the Minnesota state investigators, is that the FBI reversed course, that this initially was going to be a joint investigation, and now they've said the FBI will handle it themselves. That is very
How surprising.
unusual. If you look at the Butler assassination attempt on President Trump, that was a joint investigation. The killing of Charlie Kirk, that's a joint, local and federal investigation. And that's how most investigations like this go forward. There are sources and resources that local law enforcement has that the federal government doesn't. So this is very, very unusual. And, there'll be a lot of questions about why is FBI Director Kash Patel doing this on his own and what prompted this.
Yeah, it's unclear who made this decision specifically within the FBI or why, right? What was...
Who could possibly guess why they would make the decision for the Trump-controlled FBI to have exclusive access to the investigation and not the Minnesota State Police? Yeah, who could possibly... What motivation could there possibly be?
The role of local or state investigators when it came to a joint investigation, do we know?
Well, normally they would go out and interview witnesses. Again, we saw all this in the shooting in Manhattan at the building that happened here months ago at the NFL headquarters. Local New York City police detectives on the ground in Utah in the Charlie Kirk case go talk to witnesses. And what the Minnesota state officials are saying is that they are not going to be allowed to talk to witnesses. They're not going to get access to basic, it seems, investigatory material. And that's very, very unusual. And to be honest, given the politically charged environment, that's just going to cause more suspicion.
Right. I like how over here, even at MSNBC, they still can't say the obvious reason why this is being done. This is incredibly unprecedented. Just taking the case away from local police on a case like this, it's obviously just being done to protect the ICE agent because they know that an investigation conducted by the Minnesota State Police would find him guilty. Genuine, honest question, what's the difference between this and any other police killing investigation? Is the FBI involved in those as well? No? No, the FBI is not typically involved in those. Normally, the FBI does not yoink investigations away from local police in an effort to keep those local police officers from finding incriminating evidence on the federal officer, who is, in this case, very guilty. They won't even speculate.
More partisan division, and I think it's really bad. One of the positive things about law enforcement investigations are when they are transparent, and that doesn't appear to be happening here.
Well, David Rode, thank you. Keep us posted as you learn more.
Even on MSNBC, man. Even on MSNBC. Could the Minneapolis PD just investigate anyway? No. But if I'm not mistaken, and somebody please feel free to correct me if I'm wrong on this, they can still press charges. Not being able to investigate is not the same as not being able to press charges. Minnesota's investigations agency said Thursday the U.S. Attorney's Office has prevented it from taking part in the investigation into the ICE shooting of Minneapolis woman Renee Good, a 37-year-old mother of three. The investigation would now be led solely by the FBI, and the BCA would no longer have access to the case materials, scene evidence, or investigative interviews necessary to complete a thorough and independent investigation. You can still charge. Well, it would be hard to get a guilty verdict without investigating, right? Nope, not necessarily. Stuff still comes out in discovery. And also, the amount of evidence that's just out there publicly already should be more than enough for a conviction. A jury in Minneapolis right now would convict that ICE officer. It had been decided the BCA would investigate Good's shooting death along with the FBI, but the U.S. Attorney's Office changed that, according to Evans. They're terrified, dude. They know this makes them look really bad. I've said this before and I'll say it again. The ability for ICE to get anything done rests on the degree to which they can cooperate with local officials. If they make a habit of this, if they're like, we're just going to kill people and then we're going to take sole custody of the investigation afterwards, so you don't even have the ability to, you can't even find one of our guys guilty. You won't even be like Hitler and allow some of the brown shirts to get like thrown up to the mob or whatever. It's just a sign of incredible desperation. And they know that it would be a guilty verdict. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem said Thursday Minnesota authorities, quote, don't have any jurisdiction in this investigation. Brilliant stuff. Brilliant, brilliant stuff.
But I haven't seen everything And I will tell you that but it all starts with a investigation, not a prosecution. It starts with an investigation. And if federal
This is the Attorney General of Minnesota. He's a good guy.
authorities are saying they won't even entertain a joint and inclusive investigation, that is deeply disturbing. And my question is, what are you afraid of? What are you afraid of an independent investigation for? So I'm hoping that somebody over there at with the federal authorities understands.
Sad you have to spell it out. I mean, it's important. Basically, every single member of the government and media is our enemy. They are to some degree complicit with the administration. Even Tim Walz is being complicit, you know?
The true damage to justice and the perception of justice that a closed off exclusive investigation would mean. It would mean that no matter what they come out with, it would be questioned. And maybe they don't care. You know, they've demonstrated a degree of cavalier conduct that is extraordinary and unprecedented. But I hope somebody over there understands that a meaningful, independent investigation that includes state authorities is essential to the cause of justice. And by the way, state authorities can investigate anyway. We don't need their authority. I mean, it's at least arguable, and I believe, you know, substantially arguable,
Take him to
that
court.
there's a violation of Minnesota statutes here. You know, and I could think of a number of potential charges. All of them depend upon an investigation, though, and the federal government can't stop Minnesota from doing its own. But I would hope that it wouldn't come to that. But I have.
It has come to that. My friend, my buddy, my pal, it has come to that. You are already in that timeline. It has happened. We're right here. It's happening right now. Why can't anyone meet the moment? Look, he's a lawyer, okay, not a politician. I'm not expecting him to do a big speech, but like this is where we are right now, okay? A member of the Gestapo murdered a random woman for literally no reason, and now they are blocking access to the investigation in a desperate effort to prevent a trial. They don't want a trial because if a trial happens, he will be found guilty. Right now, the way things are going, by a jury of his own peers in the fine city of Minneapolis, he would probably be found guilty of like murder too, okay? Like it wouldn't even be like a it would be a pretty hefty charge. It would be an extremely publicized case. It would draw a ton of attention towards the criminality of ICE and the belligerence of their officers, and it would make them look really bad and really illegitimate in the future. Yeah, he fled the scene for a reason, you know? Unfortunately, Tim Walz did a press conference following the seizure of the investigation by the FBI.
We've also spent a lot of time talking the last 24 hours about accountability. That means no function of government operates with impunity. It means when someone's in a position of authority and they commit any act that impacts our people, there has to be another place to turn to get justice. Checks and balances. Basic idea, the center of the formation of our country. It's the only measure that protects us from the abuse of government or federal overreach or tyrannical government. Yesterday, the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension, the BCA, spent the day yesterday attempting to get that accountability. We have learned that the Trump administration has now denied the state that ability to participate in the investigation. And I just want to make this as clear as possible to everyone. Minnesota must be part of this investigation. These are nonpartisan career professionals that have spent years building the trust of the community. There's a BCA Force Investigations Unit that was created by the legislature, by the people of Minnesota, to provide an independent, consistent, and trusted mechanism for investigating the use of force incidents involving law enforcement officers. Minnesota has seen our share of these. And what you've seen is, and I have witnessed it during my time, that these professionals have risen to the moment. They are trusted by people. People who are not by inclination.
A really, really good measure, again, is just, do you think this kind of messaging would have worked in 1933? That's it. It's a simple litmus test, you know? Do you think it would have worked in 1933? And if the answer is no, then don't say it. And if the answer is yes, then say it, you know? This would not have worked in 1933. Not even close.
Trusting of law enforcement or government have come.
There's no reasoning with these people, okay? They're animal. They like death, okay? There's no moral or political or factual principle that you can defer to. They believe whatever is convenient for them to believe in the pursuit of more death.
To see the professionals at the BCA as true arbitrators that can get them justice. The unit is the result of years of scrutiny, public engagement, and bipartisan legislative action. Minnesotans have made it clear time and again they expect transparency through this process where a police officer uses deadly force. The BCA, Superintendent Evans, have earned that trust by delivering on that expectation.
Right. Not even any like anger on his part. Not even any like they have stolen this investigation from us because they know what the outcome will be. Nothing like that. The whole thing is a tragedy. Oh, it's all a mistake. You know, why would they do this? Don't they know we're trustworthy? Ridiculous, man. Again, like, they can file charges whenever they want. They do not need an investigation to file charges. That's the wonderful thing about America. You can file charges whenever you want for whatever reason you want. File lawsuit, you can sue anyone, you know? It's great. Take advantage of the system. We'll look at the press briefing soon. In hindsight, his weakness in the Vance debate should have been a warning, TBH. Well, you know. Do you understand why the Minnesota DFL pushed him to drop out now? There's been a long-standing discomfort with his lack of vitriol, and it's been dragging down the rest of the ballot and polls. It wasn't even about his positions. He just isn't cut out for the moment. I don't know what happened, man. He was fine like 2 years ago. Well, maybe a year ago. I don't know. I don't know what the hell happened. Star Tribune identifies ICE agent who fatally shot woman. I need him in handcuffs in front of a judge. I need his ass in handcuffs in front of a judge. I really think the Hortman assassination really f***ed with him. Yeah, but like, okay. Wow. Republicans are demonic? You learned that then? Bit of speculation, but the murderer looks a lot like this Minnesotan ICE pedophile. It is never speculation to say that an ICE officer is a pedophile. You are always correct. Look, we'll see how this develops. I'm given a little bit of confidence by the fact that the Minnesota AG seems insistent that they can prosecute or they can serve charges and investigate anyway. The fact that he's saying that he might even be able to bring charges against the federal government for obstructing or attempting to obstruct the investigation. This gives me some hope. But again, nothing matters until it actually happens. Okay, no more half victories on this. You know, I need them in handcuffs in front of a judge. Minneapolis public schools had to shut down class for the rest of the week after ICE went after students. ICE went after students. Like I said, it's never speculation to call them pedophiles. Let me just get this out here, man. Look, the consequences of a trial on this pedophilic ICE agent at this point would be devastating for the administration, all right? It is a consequence of Trump, but also of their own ideology. They can never admit fault for any reason to anything. It doesn't matter how small it is. It doesn't matter if it doesn't matter if their political project would get 1,000 times easier if they admitted fault on one issue, like any mistake ever. They will never, ever, 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 ever do it under any circumstances. They will never admit any fault. The whole thing is built on a house of cards and largely on confidence. The only reason that things have held up for this long is because the Democrats are so weak that they're... Okay, do you want to know? Do you want to see how bad it is? Do you want to see how bad media complicity is in the inability for the administration to admit fault? Because this is maybe the best example of it I've ever seen so far. Look at this. This is just a little screenshot from a New York Times article that came out today. Okay? Just a little screenshot, all right? So Donald Trump, immediately following the shooting, said that the woman who was killed was a domestic terrorist who ran over the ICE agent, and that it was a miracle the ICE agent survived. Now, we all saw in the video, the ICE agent was not run over. Trump just said that. Here's what New York Times reporters did. They went up to Trump, and God bless them. God bless them. I mean it. I'm going to tear up just thinking about it. They did an actual little itty bit of journalism. They showed Trump the video. They showed Trump slow motion surveillance video of the shooting on a laptop. They told him this angle did not appear to show an ICE officer had been run over. Trump said, well, the way I look at it, it's a terrible scene, Mr. Trump said at the end of the video. I think it's horrible to watch. No, I hate to see it. That's how fragile this house of cards is. Trump had not seen the video. He had not seen the video at any point. He was told what to say about it. He was given the link so that he could put it in his Truth Social post. He was shown the video. He actually, maybe we'll go over the full article because it's worth going over twice. But prior to this, he was insistent the officer had been run over. Like, telling it directly to the. This is why I say that Trump never lies. He's incapable of lying, because if he believes something is true, he'll just say it, right? His brain is soup, but that's just him being crazy. It's not. It is nothing to do. It's not willful dishonesty. He is incapable of it. I mean, it's such an indictment of the standards of journalism in this country that this is impressive. Like, hey, can we show you 20 seconds of video? But that's all it took. They showed him the video, and Donald Trump had nothing to say afterwards. What are you going to do with this? It's a runaway train carried entirely by momentum. It's one of those like kick paddle sail things that I see on YouTube Shorts sometimes, you know, where a pretty lady in a bikini will run alongside a dock and she'll be dragging this like waveboard with a like a sail underneath it, and then she'll hop on and like kick down, and she'll kind of like ride the water like this with the power of her like kicking down, you know? No, nobody's seen that. It's a momentum driven political movement. That's why they can't admit fault.